Hello and welcome to Parai on YouTube channel. This is the chapter second for the class 7 nutrition in animals. You have learned in first chapter that plants can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis, but animal cannot. Animal get their food from plants either directly or by eating plants or indirectly by eating animals that eat plants. Some animals eat both plants and animals. Now, recall that all organisms, including human, require the food for the growth, repair, and functions of the body. So basically, our body is made up of all the different microorganisms or like organs and tissues and cells, right? The cell is the basic structure. Then it forms the tissue and forms the organs. So to grow, to repair those cells or tissues, or to function of the body, we need a food. Animal nutrition includes the nutrients requirement, mode of intake of the food, and it utilized in the body. So you have studied in class 6 that food consists of various components. So you remember that carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, right? They are the components of the food. The components of the food such as carbohydrates are complex substance. These complex substance cannot be utilized as such directly, right? So they are broken down into a simpler substance. You need to again make it more simple to absorb by the body and use to produce the energy. The breakdown of complex components of food into simpler substance is called digestion. Now, different ways of taking foods. The mode of taking food into the body varies in different organisms. Bees and hummingbirds suck the nectar of plant. Infants of a human and many other animals feed on mother's milk. Snake like the python swallows the animals they prey upon. Some aquatic animals filter tiny food particles floating nearby the feed and feed them upon. Right, so different way of these different animals take their food. Activity 2.1 suggests that how the various animal and what kind of the food and what mode they're feeding on, right? Now in the second we are going to study digestion in human beings, right? Now we take in a food through the mouth, digest and utilize it. The unused part of the food are defected. Have you ever wondered what happened to the food inside the body? The food passes through a continuous canal, a pipeline or a structure within our body which begins at the buccal cavity and ends at the anus. The canal can be divided into a various compartment. So, so the first part is the buccal cavity, second food pipe, or you can say esophagus, third is stomach, fourth is a small intestine, fifth is the large intestine, and ending in the rectum and at the sixth anus. Is it not a very long path? Yes, it is. These parts together form an alimentary canal, or you can say digestive tract. The food components gradually get digested as food travels through the various compartments. The inner walls of the stomach and the small intestine and the various glands such as the salivary glands, the liver and the pancreas secrete the digestive juice. The digestive juice convert a complex substance of food into a simpler one. The digestive tract and the associated glands together constitute the digestive system. So basically, the human digestion has many parts like this buccal cavity and esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, anus, right? Now when you eat the food, it passes through all this compartment, right? And it has some absorptions of material with the help of the salivary glands, liver and pancreas added a certain kind of the juice within the food so that it can when it reaches to the level where it has started to absorbing, it becomes a the perfect texture to be consumed by the our body organs. Now let us know what happened to the food in a different part of the digestive tract, the mouth and the buccal cavity. Food is taken into the body through the mouth. The process of taking a food into the mouth, the body is called ingestion. So when you are eating, it is known as the ingestion. We chew the food with the teeth and break it down mechanically into small pieces. Each tooth is rooted in a separate socket. In the gums, our teeth vary in appearance and perform different functions. According to they are given a different names. So we know that we have the pairs of teeth in our mouth, right? When we take a food, the whole different kinds of teeth do a different function in our mouth. The first two is incisors, then after they try to cut the food. Canine, right, tear the food. Premolars and molars do the job of grinding the food. Which one for piercing and tearing, as I have said, chewing and grinding. Our mouth has the salivary gland which secretes saliva. It's a kind of mouth water. Whenever you see your favorite food, the water comes out your mouth. This is a saliva. Actually, it starts helping the food to digest. So the digestion process starts within the mouth. These, let us find out of the boiled rice. There are two rice containers over here, A and B. Now both in A and B test tube, keep teaspoon of the boiled rice after chewing for the 3 and 5 minutes and add 3 to 4 ml of water in both the test tube. Now pour 2-3 drops of iodine solution. Why the each in each test tube and observe, and why there is a change in the color, because our saliva has got a starch in it, so which helps it to break down into the sugar. So the tongue is the fleshy muscular organ, now attached at the back of to the floor of the buccal cavity. It is free at the front and can be moved in all the direction. Do you know the function of the tongue? So you know how we can test the things. We do test the things with the help of the taste buds present on the tongue. These help us to find out the taste. We use our tongue for talking. Besides, it mixes saliva with the food during the chewing, help in swallowing the food. We also taste food with our tongue. In it has a taste buds that detect the different tastes of food. We can find out the position of the taste buds by following activities. So you can just do the activities and see which part you feel sweetness, sourness, or the lemon taste, right? Then comes the food pipe, esophagus. The swallowed food passes into the food or food pipe or esophagus. You can look in the picture that food pipe along with the neck moves towards the with the help of alimentary canal, which is to the stomach, and the chest. Food is pushed down by the movement of the wall of food pipe. Actually, this movement takes place throughout the alimentary canal that pushes the food downwards at the time the food is not accepted by the stomach and is vomiting out. So when food is not accepted by the stomach, we normally throw out with vomiting. The stomach. The stomach is a thick walled bag. It is a shape like a flattened U, and it is the widest part of the alimentary canal. It receives the food from the food pipe at the end of the open into the small intestine and other. The inner lining of the stomach is a secrete a mucus and hydrochloric acid and a digestive juice. The mucus protects the lining of the stomach, and the acid kills the many bacteria that enters along with the food. So whatever we are eating, the inner lining of stomach secrete the mucus and hydrochloric acid, which help to digest the food and make the medium in the stomach acidic. The digestive juice break down the proteins into further simpler process. So you see food enters into the mouth and they start processing to make it more simpler and simpler substance to digest in our stomach. The small intestine is highly coiled and is about a 7.5 meter long. It receives secretions from the liver and the pancreas. Besides it, wall also secrete juices. The liver is a reddish-brown gland situated in the upper part of the abdomen on the right side. It is the largest gland in the body. It secretes a bile juice that is stored in a sac called the gallbladder. The bile plays an important role in the digestion of fat in our small intestine. As the food moves towards it, the liver that is in the side of our stomach, which secrete a special juice called the bile juice, right? And this juice have to digest the fats from our food. The pancreas is a large cream colored gland located just below the stomach. The pancreatic juice act on carbohydrates and proteins and change them into a simpler form. The partly digested food now reach the lower part of the small intestine, where the intestinal juice complete the digestions of all the component of the food. The carbohydrates get broken into a simpler sugar such as a glucose, fat into a fatty acid and a glycerol, and a protein into amino acid. Now, absorption takes place in the small intestine. When the digested food passes through the small intestine, the blood vessels which is attached to the wall of intestine it start absorbing the food. This process is called absorption. The inner wall of a small intestine have thousands of finger-like outgrowths projections. These are called the villi, a singular villus. So, can you guess that the role of villi could be, right, the role of villi is to increase the surface area so that they can absorb more and more amount of digested food. Each villus has a network of a thin and a small blood vessel close to its surface. The small blood vessels close to its surface, the surface of the villus absorb digested food material, and the absorbed substance are transmitted transported via the blood vessel to the different organs of the body, where they used to build a complex substance such as the proteins required by the body. And this is called assimilations. So you must remember the different process and their names. In the cell, glucose breaks down with the help of oxygen into carbon dioxide and water, and energy is released. The food that remains undigested and unabsorbed then enter into the large intestine. Now let us see what happened in the large intestine. I hope this much is clear. Large intestine is wider and shorter than a small intestine. It is about a 1.5 meter in length. Its function is to absorb water and some salt from the undigested food material. The remaining waste passes into the rectum and remain there as a semi-solid feces. The fecal matter is removed from the anus from time to time, and this is called egestion. Now, what we have learned here, in the small intestine, the absorption takes place and the digested food further simpler into required protein, and that process is known as assimilation. In a large intestine, food is there, half the part of the food that reach there, the water and the salt absorbed in the large intestine, and the remaining waste material was thrown out through the anus. So this is called egestion. Now, digestion in a grass-eating animal. Have you ever observed the cows, buffaloes, and other grass-eating animals chewing a continuous even when they are not eating grass? What they're doing is that whenever they are eating a grass, they simply swallow the grass and then store into separate part of the stomach, which is known as the rumen, and that is why they are also called a rumen animal. They have the special structure, and when they are sit, they bring that food back and start digesting. So that partially digested and is called a cud. But later the cud return to the mouth and small lumps and the animal chews it. This process is called a rumination, and the animal are called the ruminants. The grass is rich in cellulose, a type of carbohydrates. Many animals, including humans, cannot digest the cellulose. Ruminants have a large sac-like structure between the small intestine and the large intestine. The cellulose of the food is digested here by the act of certain bacteria, which is not present in human but it is present in the cow. So far you have learnt about the animal which possess the digestive system, but there are many small organisms which do not have the mouth or the digestive system. Then how do they acquire the food? You will study in the later on. Feeding and digestion in the amoeba. So amoeba is a microscopic single cell living organism. Now whenever it normally found in a pond and water, so it is only one cell, right, and rounded structure. Now it's a small bubble, right, has vacuoles and some cytoplasm in it. Cytoplasm is the liquid in the cell. Amoeba is constantly changing its shape, so it has no particular shape. When it looks at the food, they start creating a finger-like projection, which is known as a pseudopodia or false feet. It moves and it captures the food among it, and amoeba feed on this some small microscopic organism when it is sense the food. Pushes up pseudopodia around the food particles and engulf this food and become trapped in the food vacuoles. Digestive juice are secreted into the food vacuoles. They act on the food and break down into a simpler substance. Gradually, the digested food is absorbed by these small amoeba, and then absorbed substance are used for the growth, maintenance, and multiplications. The undigested residues of the food is expelled outside by the vacuoles. This basic process of digestion of the food and release of energy is the same in all animal. In a later chapter, you will learn more about the transport of the food absorbed by the intestine to the various part of the body. So this is the end of the chapter.